Yo, what up? Welcome back to the Lamont Xperience. I'm Lamont, and these are my experiences. I'm very excited today. I'm very, very excited about my guest today. I'm excited in general. I'm excited. I'm in front of my fireplace that doesn't work, probably for the best, knowing me. I'm excited that I just ordered a bunch of food off Instacart. Instacart is they deliver it to your doorstep. I might never leave my house again. I might ever they just bring the food right to you. Why would I ever go outside if I don't have to? That doesn't make any sense. But I'm really excited about my guest today. My guest today is one of the funniest comedians in the game, a good friend of mine. He is the king of The Bachelor. He is the board lord. He is the co-host of the U Up podcast and the host of his very own J Train podcast. My guest today, man, Jared Freid. What's up, Jared?
Lamont, great to be. That was way too kind. Thank you so much for having me. This is
what did I lie about?
Listen, no lies. It's just a pleasure to be here. I'm so happy to hang with you. And that was just such a kind, and you were such a great guest on my podcast. And I'm hoping people are here that listen to that because everyone had such great things to say about you. Everyone loved having you as a guest.
I had a great time on the show. I know, here's the thing about you. I know when you are in my world because if I go on Instagram, right, and suddenly I have like 50 new followers who all look like Penny from The Big Bang Theory, I go, Jared's behind this shit. I know this is Jared.
You start looking around for me yelling somewhere. Where did Jared yell my name? Yeah.
Where is Jared? Did he retweet something? Did he shine one of my posts on Instagram? But the second I see like 50 new girl next door face girls like in my Instagram, I go, that's Jared. That's not me. It's definitely not me.
I'm happy I can lead them to you and all your funny stuff. I'm happy to do it. You got to lead people. That's the thing about comedy is like, you know, we love stand up. We love being on stage. We love talking to audiences, but stand up is like the hardest thing to get people to like buy in for, to like come and see it. You have to like lead them in. You got to kind of do the people crazy. With stand up. It's crazy. And then everyone says the same thing to me because a lot of people that like the type of people that are following you on Instagram, it's mostly women and the people that are following me are mostly women coming to you from me. And they all say to me the same thing. They're like, this is my first stand-up show. I loved it. I don't know why I'm not doing it more. And it's like, I know why, because stand-up is just kind of has this like weird stay out of here attitude to like a certain just people that just want to have a fun time. They want like, for some reason stand-up only attracts like the people that are like, hate everything. And I want to hear someone hate everything too. And you're like, all right.
There's a lot of that. I also think, though, that's a great point. And I was going to bring that up because a lot of people will come to you and go, I had such a good time tonight. I don't know why I don't do this. And it's like, well, I think a lot of people think of stand-up as something that they could do. Like they go, that person's up there being funny. I'm funny. And it's almost like a personal affront. You know what I'm saying? Like they think that, you think you're the only one who can be funny, and they don't realize it's a different animal.
If you describe it to someone, they'd be right. They can do it. A guy gets up in front of a crowd, or a person gets up in front of a crowd and is funny, and everyone laughs. And it's like, well, I've done that at my office, I've done that at Christmas, I've done that with my family, and they're not wrong. The difference is, it's a person you don't know. I used to say this all the time. The hardest thing in the world was making an audience feel like they're your friend in 10 seconds and making them laugh like they're a buddy on your couch. And it's like, that took time for me to learn because I'm a confident person. I'm a cocky person. I come from a ball-busting dude world where it's like, yeah, we're all fucking funny. But And I remember the first time I went on stage, I was like, oh, this is different. It takes 1 minute on stage to realize it's different, or it takes a whole show where you're laughing, boom, 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 to go, oh, that's what it is. So I think stand-up has a marketing issue. Like
it has a terrible issue. And I think the comedians, like the type that you described earlier, the guys who go, I hate everything, and I want people to hate everything too, there's an insecurity there, right? And I think that those people, I try to tell comics like that, like, you don't realize that all these people in the audience wish they could do what you do. Because the magic trick of what you do is, like you just said, you take strangers who don't know you and don't know each other, and you make them laugh at the same time as something you thought up at 3 o'clock in the morning, high as hell. At least in my case.
And that's why I get so I'm so like frustrated by hecklers and people who come to show and don't have a good time, because I do believe in intent. Like, and listen, not everybody's intent realizes itself into actual, into what they intended. It doesn't. Sometimes your intent doesn't come true. But the intent was no one got on stage to make you angry. No one got.
No.
And I guess that there are some comics that their intent is to, like, I'm not there to change anyone's mind. I'm just there for you to look at the thing I'm looking at and go, you're right. That is kind of crazy.
It's honesty, right? Like, I don't mind what anybody talks about on stage, as long as in my mind they're being honest, right? Because there's a lot of things. Because there's comics who are the tell like it is comics, and okay, if I feel, now mind you, this is my own personal feeling. If I feel you're being genuine to who you are, I got no beef with it. But there are a lot of cats who force the watch me say the thing that people say I shouldn't say, and if they don't get it, then that means they don't know anything about this. It's like, all right, come on, man.
There are shock topic comics now.
Yeah.
It used to be, it would be like, oh, that person talks about sex in a gruesome way, or they talk about poop and shit or whatever it is. Now it's taking an opposing position on a thing no one is asking you to oppose, just to show how smart you are. And it's like, I want people to know how dumb I am. That's the beauty in comedy I am. Like, I want, I try to tell stories about, like, with my girlfriend, and I'm like, I just want you to know that I'm the idiot in every girlfriend conversation. I am the dummy. Like, I am. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
I think that it just takes a while for you to realize, for any comedian to realize who you are on stage, because once you can meld your real personality into what you've gained in you, like, people go, oh, I'm trying to write this great joke. I don't care how great a joke you write. If you can't deliver it, if the audience doesn't believe in you, then it's not going to sell. I remember before I started doing comedy, I remember Sinbad, a man who does not get enough praise, by the way.
The best.
Sinbad said, one of the best, man. Sinbad was on, like, Letterman or something, and he was talking about stand-up comedy, and he was like, it takes you at least 5 years to become good at stand-up comedy. This is when I was a kid, before I started. And I was like, nah, come on, man. I'm killing it. And then until I did it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. He's right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like, knowing what people see from you. Like, we all picture ourselves. We all have a mind's eye of what we look like to people or what we sound like to people. Like, again, you mentioned The Bachelor, that I like The Bachelor. The Bachelor, I basically scream at the TV. I never noticed that I was screaming. Like, people would be like, stop screaming, stop yelling. And I was like, that's just how I talk when I get excited. I also, like, I think I've been playing my earphones too loud my whole life. Like, I definitely, like, if you tested my hearing, it wouldn't be probably that great. Whatever. Yeah. But, and then I was like, oh, I guess at first I was like, fuck you, I'm not screaming, I'm just joking around. And then I started calling it, instead of a live stream, I called it the live scream. So it's like, now I reversed it. I'm admitting to, yeah, you're right, I am screaming. Now I don't look like a lunatic. I know exactly how I sound. I'm admitting to how I sound. And that didn't come right away. I didn't know it until it was told to me enough. And I was like, You either go with the current or you fight it. And some people fight it, and that makes you a bad comedian because you got to yes and. That's the first rule of improv. You got to yes and people.
Yeah, and I had to learn. It's about learning yourself and coming to grips with who you are, and that's what I'm facing here with this podcast. I'm new to this. I'm the kind of person, maybe like other people, I don't like to listen to myself. You know what I'm saying? I just anything I usually do, I do it, and I don't watch it. I don't listen to it. But I'm learning that I have to listen to it more. And from you, here's what I learned from you. Because I figured out the comedy thing, I can do stand-up, and I think I can do it well. But the other side of things is where I sort of trip. And you've helped me a lot, maybe not even knowing so. Where, like, I was never doing Instagram stories before, like, you know, talking to you and stuff and getting people and just doing other things to get people engaged other than just stand-up. I mean, I would do stuff before, sketches, I did videos with friends and stuff, but just my own social media presence, I wasn't really, until 4 years ago.
But, I mean, I remember seeing you put on Facebook the Lamont's with Boston.com.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago I started that, yeah.
But I love that. Like that's the thing. Like, you have to get, and again, this goes back to, like, how do you get people in the door to watch you do stand-up, the thing you love the most? And it's like, okay, like, let's breadcrumb them in. Let them get to know you in a way that they do become your friend before they even walk in the door. And it's like, you know, like, I think Instagram is helpful for that. It can get addicting, but it's also really helpful to be like, here's who I am. Like, you know, and I think, like, in like, for us in stand-up, we get the immediate reaction. The tough part with, like, creating stuff off stage and online is, like, I don't know, a lot of it's going to fail. Like, I've had so many failed things that I put out there, and I'm like, everything I tweet, everything I put on, you know, I have the belief that it could become the most viral, biggest thing in the world. And that's delusional.
You never know.
And stupid.
You never know.
But
it's not. It's not delusional. It's not stupid, because how many viral things do you see where you go, why the fuck did... And it just... I know. You don't know what's going to strike. I had a tweet. This is the dumbest... I thought it was the dumbest thing.
You had... It was the other day. It was like a week ago.
It was like a few... It was Reese Witherspoon and her daughter. And I said, because Witherspoon, I said Reese with herself. And I left it. I didn't think about it. I left Twitter. I came back. Last I checked, I had to mute it. It was up to like 200,000. And I was like, that's the dumbest. And then people in the comments, you know it's hot when the comments are promoting their own, like, girls are promoting their OnlyFans. And, like, dudes are promoting their SoundCloud. Yo, all that much shit. People are trying to get help with their hospital bills. I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to. I gotta mute this immediately.
Well, I remember that tweet, and what you realize is, like, you know, then you'll have someone message you or tweet at you or DM you, and they'll be like, I didn't know who you are, and I'm going through the backlogs now, and holy shit. And they're like, you're fucking hilarious. And it's like, I've always believed that. And if you keep consistent, putting stuff out where you love it, you think it's funny, you know, again, things are going to fail. Things are going to offend. Things are going to be wrong. Things are going to be funny one day and not funny a year from then. But the intent was there, that you were always there to make people laugh. And I do believe, like, just like the people who saw that Reese Witherspoon tweet, as much as it was small, it was a genius tweet. Now they get to recognize your genius by looking back and going, oh my God, they become a bigger fan. It's almost like someone finding a band that's been there, and you're like, oh, I'm the first to know it. People want to have the rookie card. And we've been doing this a long time, but to someone else, we've been doing it 0 minutes to them. You know, like,
people don't know. People don't realize, like, you know, people think Leslie Jones started doing comedy 6 years ago.
And that is like the sweetest thing. I think we forget to look at it from the side of the consumer. Because to the consumer, that is like getting like a whole new like apple to chew into. Like, you've just gotten so much joy. Like, Leslie Jones, I remember she was in, like, the back of, like, a comedy club, like, hanging out before she got on SNL. Sorry, bugs here. And I was, like, going on the show, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then someone, like, and I remember, like, I was like, we met, you know, introduced myself, whatever, and then, like, I remember later that night, someone was just like, that's the funniest person. That person's hilarious. And I was like, oh, shit, like, didn't know. You know, I'm in this. She's incredible. Then you see her then goes on SNL, like, immediately. She didn't become funny that night on SNL. That was years of work, but then
years of work.
And the audience gets to now, like, dig their teeth into it. Like, I think that, like, we forget how cool that is. Like, when people find out I've been doing this 10 years, they're like, 10 years? Like, oh my, and, like, especially you have this too, where, like, people ask you questions, and then you'll be like, oh, I have this story, and the story's, like, has all these characters that they know from other places, and they're like, you know that person? You're like, I don't know them, but we had this experience. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and I think this happens to me all the time where I'm like, I should shut up now, because I'm like, man, I sound like I'm bragging, but this is just normal stories. And, like, people really enjoy that, like, oh my God, there's depth to it in a different way that maybe someone who, like, again, like, I used to think, I'll tweet this out, it'll go viral, everyone will know how great I am. And I was like, that's delusional. But now I think, I'll tweet this out, it'll go viral, and a few people will move over to the podcast and love it. You know, like, that to me is, like, enjoyable.
And you've mastered that, and you've weaved that perfectly. And like, with my Instagram stories, it was you and some other people that I would look at, and I learned to treat my stories like it's my own personal channel. So It's like I'm programming my channel. So I've created a bunch of characters. Like, I know, like, when you watch, like, The Bachelor, I watched The Bachelor through your Instagram stories. I've never watched the show, but I feel like I should, because I feel like it would be hilarious. But I get from you that you genuinely do like the show, and you just, like, anything you like, you critique it and the people within it. And so, what was, like, when you record, right, the live stream, when you record that, when I make a video and I'm recording, like, me watching a music video or a Hallmark Christmas movie, which I want to do, I watch it and I will rewind and do another take. And do you just do them as they go? Like, I just said it, put it out. I just said it, put it out.
It's the most. My girlfriend watches me watch it's the most annoying thing to watch. It isn't like it. No, I'm rewinding. But I'm also against the clock, because I have to get done within 5 minutes of the show ending. So I have to basically I have the commercials and a 5-minute buffer, because then I do a post game show on YouTube. So I'm getting really annoyed at myself, because I'll do the first take. And if it doesn't work, I'm like, I'll scream at myself. I'll rewind. I have to wait for the bottom bar not to show up on the TV, because I don't want it to look like I rewound. Like, it's like it is painstaking. And by the end of it, I'm exhausted. But, like, again, my girlfriend sits there and she's like, you need to be less hard on yourself. Like, I'm like going like, fuck. She's like, I like when you do it. She's like, the first take is always the best. I'm like, no, but I didn't say the word, like, perfectly.
Always.
Like, you know, like.
Always. I hate myself. I'll pause, I'll rewind. I'll be like, I don't know, I can't. My phone's memory is 75% videos that I'll never use. Because I just go, and I forget to delete them. I just forget to delete them.
I'm with you, man. It's a longer process than maybe it looks like, because then again, like you said, like, I want it to be a fully contained show. So I want to be able to put in my highlights one episode, beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
I want it to all fit. So, like, because people used to say to me, they're like, there's so many stories. And I'd be like, well, I'm not doing this all the time. It's not like I'm one of the, like, the way I rationalize it, it's like, it's not like I'm, like, on Instagram with, like, thousands of stories every day. There are those people. I can't watch all of those. I'm like most people that are out there, that there is such a thing as too much. To me, because it has a beginning, middle, and an end, I rationalize it as, okay, whoever doesn't like this knows to just skip out of this, knows what I'm doing, and knows it will go away. So, like, but the people who are in, they watch through the whole thing, like, and the numbers, like, kind of prove that. There's a lot of people that watch, and they really enjoy it.
Dude, my stories I keep to like 8 a day, but it's just that to me, like, you have like a schedule. So I understand, like, you're beyond, but with me, I try, like, people have followed me because of the Hallmark stuff, right? And
Dude,
so I try to do new stuff every season, but I do find myself going, this movie I love, but and then sometimes there are parts that have too much meat on it. You're like, I don't know which way to go, and my brain is fried, and then I question my ability, and then I'm a fraud, and then I just turn the movie off.
Dude, I know I do the saddest thing I do every time I watch The Bachelor is, like, I'll get 7 stories in and I'll be like, are these funny? And it's like I wanna turn it off, but I've kind of like cornered and this is another thing with, like, putting out content, like, you kind of have to corner yourself into not being able to give it up. You have to make it, and I've done this from day one where I've made myself accountable for, like, I do a thing every day on this time, and if you become a fan of it, you now expect it. You expect your free entertainment, but I'm okay with that because it keeps me in the game. It keeps me doing it. So, like, the idea, like the Bachelor, like, I do it Monday nights. You're gonna get the Rose rehash right afterwards, and it's gonna show up on TikTok 20 minutes after that, and it's like, nobody needs me to do that. If I died right now, no one would be going, well, what are we going to do on Monday night? Like, it would be over, but you have to, especially with what we do, you have to keep yourself, like, you have to act like, if I don't do this, it's the end of the world, because then, nobody
you
would
have to
care.
keep pushing the content out. You got to push the content out. There are people that want that content. There are people that like that content. So you have to. And I mean, we're this weird. Comics is so cynical. So we don't realize. That's why, like, when you see most of the viral videos are people who don't do stand up, who don't do anything. They're just they came up with something and they put it out. We will sit there and go, that's dumb, stupid. And we do that to ourselves a lot. And we have to push that shit over. That shit doesn't matter. Just do it. I got to learn it.
The internet is a wall, and we got a bunch of shit. It's time to throw that shit against the wall. You gotta, the internet is the problem, and the solution of the internet is endless space. So the job never ends, which sucks. But also, it's a lot of room for mistakes. It's a lot of room. Again, I put out a TikTok last night. It failed. That's okay. I'll do it differently next time. That's okay.
But what do you consider? How does it fail? Like, what do you mean?
Well, I guess fail would mean it didn't bring me new people. Okay. Like, and again, so I guess that's a bad way of looking at it, because then it's like, well, what about the people who like what you do? Maybe they liked it. Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, but I'm always looking, again, like, if I don't see. If something doesn't get, like, well liked by my people, then it doesn't grow enough to go find new people. So again, it needs to just be funnier, Yeah,
and you're good about that, because you always say, like, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and you want to get people to grab people, and that's the way you expand your brand. And these are things that I have learned from watching you and some others. In order to kind of get people to pay attention more to me, and especially now that no one's really doing stand-up. So, now we're at a world where people will go, well, when you do stand-up again, now I want to come and check you out.
Yeah.
And that's the goal here.
Right now, it's like, I kind of think of the pandemic and quarantine and all this stuff where we're kind of stuck. It's like, okay, we got to go into collection mode. We got to figure out ways to, like, get people to our corner, because when this thing opens up, people are going to want to go out. People are going to want to connect with the people that they connected with online. That's a huge thing. People are going to want to say, oh, what's the next thing I can do with you that, they want to thank you. They want, like, I do, because there's people, if it's true for me, it's true for other people. But, like, I listen to podcasts. There's people that I follow and love what they do. And, and there's podcasts that I listen to that I'm truly thankful that they exist. And to get me through the mental anguish that this, last 11, 10 months has created. And I think if I'm there, you're there, that means everyone's there. So.
Yeah, and I mean, when it opens up, it's going to open up big. And I'm already thinking of ways to I have a plan that I want to do a huge thing. I don't want to talk about it just yet, but there's something I want to do so bad.
That's the fun of it. It's fun to prepare for that stuff. It's fun to get that going. That's exciting.
I'm itching to grab a mic live again. It's just at this point, I'm the kind of person I don't like going outside anyway. So at the beginning of all this, it was like, oh, stay in the house and watch TV. Bet. But here we are. A year later, I'm like, God damn.
You're like, I'm done with this couch. I can take a walk.
Yeah. You gotta I'm in my living room right now. I gotta walk all the way to my room, and then this is my travel. I got a show in the living room at 8:30, and a show in my bedroom at 10. So how is this season of The Bachelor? I almost watched on my own because ABC said let's get a black guy this time. And one thing I'm curious about is how are those ratings doing?
I don't know. My stories are getting watched. The Bachelor generally does better than The Bachelorette. Okay. This season, I think quarantine kind of and pandemic changes everything, but it feels like this is being watched a lot. Just because, again, people are inside. The problem is a big part of The Bachelor that we're not getting this season is the travel. And that's right. the third character on the show. There's the contestants, there's the Bachelor, there's the women, and then there's where are they going? What are they going to do next? What adventure will they go on together? And it's they're stuck at this resort, and this happened last season with Tayshia and Claire. They were stuck at the La Quinta, and now they're at the Nemacolin in Pennsylvania. And for the first few episodes, it's fun because you're they're in the woods, they're doing ATV, they're on horseback, there's the foliage. But now we're going to head into the part of the season where it becomes tougher because it's okay, next it's tonight's date, board games. No, the Bachelor's big mistake, and I hope they tried to solve it with the Nemacolin because it goes from La Quinta just kind of, everything just looked like the desert. Nemacolin has more to see. You just need that change of scenery. So but La Quinta, what they did for the dates, they would get some of the dates look like they bought them online on Amazon. They needed to hire a date writer, and they needed to hire someone who could get creative with the dates without needing the outside world to change. And I'm hoping they did that. But this season's been good so far because Matt James is really good at it because he's never been on the show and he genuinely asks good questions of the women, and it doesn't seem forced. It doesn't seem fake. The women have been a little bit, there's a lot of women on the show this season. I think they got more just because of that thing where they're not changing scenery, so they needed more people to talk about. There's been craziness, but it's we're getting into the better part. I think The Bachelor gets better as it goes on because then you get to know these people, so there's more for me to make fun of. There's more running subplots and jokes I can make. So personally, I like as it goes on.
But how genuine is any of it though? Really? You go on TV and you're looking for love, right? I guess sure. I sound like a lot of people, right? I sound like a lot of people. I guess it's no different than going on Tinder, right? It's probably no different than going on Bumble.
It's no different. The difference is the cameras. The difference is on Bumble and Tinder, you can't find 100,000 people to be your follower and then start a podcast afterwards and make money off of it. So that's a big difference. There's a cottage industry there, and you've mastered it. I'm talking about just for somebody trying to get a date or somebody. The cameras change everything, but as far as, I guess my question is how genuine are the people's intentions when they get on the show? So
are they trying to be on TV?
Well, that's what I mean by their genuineness is. I think that's a fun part of the show too. A fun part of the show is this person here for love, or are they here to make money off of Instagram and social media? Because you can leave this show and become your own brand, and many have done that in the past. So you have to, so that's kind of the fun of it. So that's kind of the fun part of the show is like, are they there for the guy? Are they there for marriage? Is Matt James there for marriage? Or is he there for opportunities after this show to be on, after he's on TV? It exists for everyone on there. What I would say is I am a Bachelor watcher that lives in the reality of the show I am given. I don't like this whole thing of like, well, I do like looking into, are they there for love? But I don't like looking into like, are the producers keeping them there? Because I kind of watch it like it's professional wrestling. Like, you know, when someone says, it's fake. Yeah, all TV is fake. Like, I don't know what you think is real. So like, it's fake. Well, they're still jumping off the ropes. They still fucking, jump off a ladder. That's gotta hurt. So I think of The Bachelor the same way as WWE. They're still going on dates. You're still meeting someone. You still want to be liked. You still think a woman is hot and want to get in bed with her. Like, all those things apply. I can't speak to, what their intent is, but you can see what happens after the show. You get to follow them along after it gets done.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I've never heard it explained that beautifully. I'm serious. Like, when you get to the meat of it, because, I'll be one of those dudes like, man, I don't think they care about this show. They're just trying to, and then you're like, no, dude, it's a TV show. Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, I've actually met a few of the people that have been on the show, and I've met them through whatever, coming on podcasts, whatever. And I do ask that question, like, how real can you get? And they all say the same thing. They all say, because you're in a place with no phone and you're sharing an experience with someone that no one else can understand, things do move quickly. And I think people are seeing that with their relationships during the pandemic. Every relationship during the pandemic is moving faster than it should have, or it's ending faster than it should have, or it's moving to the next level and you're moving in together all of a sudden. And it's like, oh yeah, when you were in a situation, when you're bunkered down with someone, no matter what that bunker is, it makes you have a commonality that no one else can understand. It happened to me on Birthright. I went on Birthright. The Jewish people go to Israel. When you're on a bus with 40 other people, people start dating. People start really feeling like this is the one. Like, that happens all the time. So it makes sense that in this little bubble, when you're on a date with someone and they're saying to you, "Tell me about your mom. Tell me about your dad. Tell me about your love life." Yeah, you can get farther along. So I do believe that it can happen. I don't believe that it can happen for everyone, but it can happen.
I agree. Yeah, that's a great point, because you generally date who you're around, and if you're around, that's why like romances start up in Hollywood on movie sets, or you're with each other day to day for 3 months. Something could happen. Attractions will spark. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
So on this last point, a couple weeks ago you hit me up. You said you had a gig. You got hired for a gig to judge charcuterie boards, and I feel like I love this. I love this that you've carved out this niche for yourself, where people are like, yo, let's hire this dude to make fun of our cheese and crackers. And I think that is one of the best things. You know what I'm saying?
I'm the board lord, baby.
Yo, you market that shit. I just like, yo, we need this dude to just straight up roast our salami slices and our apple slices. So being that you're the board lord, right? And I've seen these boards, and I'm a person who likes charcuterie myself. And I look at boards that people send you, and I go, "Oh, he's gonna destroy this fucking shit." What do you think constitutes like a good charcuterie board, and what's too much?
Okay. So I think So this all started because I tweeted, I can tell what type of parent you'd be by your charcuterie board. That was the tweet. And it was so simple. And the tweet didn't go viral. But all these people started sending me their charcuterie board and going, what type of parent would I be? So then I would answer. And then I put them on my Instagram, and all of a sudden it became a thing. And then over the pandemic, during quarantine, I started doing these videos called Charcuterie Chat, where I would delve into charcuterie subjects. And the main thing with charcuterie is, and the reason it's so popular right now, is you get more, now because of social media, there is a personal, and you can get something personally out of making a charcuterie board that doesn't involve feeding the people at your party. To me, a charcuterie board is made to be the first thing people eat at your party. It's an easy thing. You don't have to cook. It can be out all night long, and it can be out right away. So that's the reason the charcuterie exists. Have it out and munch on it as the night goes on. So now with social media, people post their charcuterie, so they want likes out of the charcuterie. That's why you're seeing boards that now you're seeing the candy board. They have to keep outdoing themselves.
Everybody's trying to top each other. Okay, yeah.
So a lot of these boards have put hunger of their guests aside to create a board for people that will never eat it on Instagram. And that to me is the biggest crime of it all.
So they got fruit and fucking Transformers on the thing, Optimus Prime chilling.
Optimus Prime, and then the biggest thing I see, the one example that pisses me off the most is when an orange is cut, but the orange is cut down the middle. And it's like, how is this orange getting eaten? How is this going to happen? And it's like, they haven't thought of that because they just want the look of the orange. They don't want the orange to be mad. So I get mad at fruit a lot on my chats because fruit is kind of the easy way to look like a higher end person than you are. So that kind of drives me crazy because you can't have a board that's 1/3 fruit, 1/3 meat, 1/3 cheese. It's just not how it's done. That's not what people came to your party for. But because it's on Instagram, they now have lost sight of who this board is for. And it's for someone that skipped lunch to come to your party because there was going to be food.
So fruit is the too much. Fruit is, it's cheese, crackers.
I would say too much is when there's something on the board that can't be picked up and eaten with one hand. Because the other hand has to hold a drink, has to hold the cracker, has to hold the meat. You should be able to venture around the board with two fingers. If you can't do this, it doesn't make sense on the board.
Listen, man, comedian, podcaster, charcuterie coach. There's nothing Jared Freid can't do. Jared.
Thank you.
What were you going to say? You had something?
I said thank you. This is such a pleasure. I had a blast.
Thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate you showing up. Check out Jared, of course, the J Train podcast. He puts one up every week. You put them is there a specific day you put them up?
Twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, J Train. Wednesdays, You Up. I never shut up. I just talk all day long.
You have the Bachelor post.
Bachelor's,
the Bachelor
Monday
wrap-up show.
All that stuff. Just at Jared Freid on Instagram. That's where you find me.
Instagram, Twitter. Jared, thank you for coming on the Lamont Xperience. I appreciate you coming on, dude. I had a lot of fun on your podcast, which you guys can check out right now on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So, thanks again, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. This is great.
Peace.